Hello there everyone and welcome to Facebook Live. Earlier in the week I was able to, or actually last night I was able to do a Facebook Live without too many problems. So I'm really hoping that the issue I was having the week before last with my internet, I'm hoping it was just weather related. So yeah, let's see how we go. So I would like to just do a quick reminder. Let me just find... Okay, just needed to find on my computer so I can see your comments. Your Stash, Your Style weekly card class. Okay, so this is a class that you get to craft along with me while using the products you already have. So the weekly Facebook Live classes, these will now be done via Teams so we can actually see each other and talk to each other. Those videos will be recorded and then they'll be uploaded, and the link for the YouTube video will be shared. And it is an unlisted video, so only people who are involved in the class will have access to those videos. There will be one project done each week. You'll receive the cutting guides. The tutorial is a live tutorial that I will share as we're going. There's monthly giveaways, and also, of course, as I mentioned, you get to craft with your own supplies. So you can use your favourite stamps, papers, inks, embellishments, and you can make the cards how you like. What I will do, I'll be asking the ladies who are part of the July class if it's okay that I share some of their cards with you as well, so you get an idea of how we can use the one card or the one design for various cards or various styles. Okay, so registration closes for August on the 1st of August. Okay, the first class I think is around the 3rd. Can't remember my dates off the top of my head. Okay, so I would like to share with you a card that I made using the Floral Spray 3D embossing folder, which is this one here. So it is nice and big. You can do a complete card front very, very easily. And being 3D, it just means that it sort of embosses deeper into your cardstock. Okay, so this is the card. So I've got two lots of embossing on the background and also this piece here. I've done some sponging with the colour, and then I've gone over the top with some white ink and the white gel pen. Okay, so this can be done with any embossing folder. It just works really nicely with the 3D ones. So let me get on and make a start and share with you, to begin with, the products used to make this card. Okay. So, of course, with all cards and envelope, this card was a part of the card buffet that I did a while ago. But it's a really great card, so I thought I'd share it with you. So this is Berry Burst. So for my base, I've got a half a sheet, which measures 14.9 by 21. There are two pieces of white, and both of these measure 10 centimetres by 14.4. A second piece of Berry Burst, and let me get the measurements for this one for you. This one is 6.5 by 11.5. Piece of white, 6 by 11, so just a little bit smaller, so it mats on there. And then I've got this piece here is 9 by 3, and this is going to be used to stamp and then die cut my sentiment. Okay, and finally I have got 5 of the rhinestones, which I'm going to colour using the Berry Burst Stampin' Blends marker, which is one of the things I love about our Stampin' Blends. They do colour embellishments and ribbon and baker's twine really nicely. They dry really quick, so you don't get any colour transfer. Okay, so let's make a start. Let me pop these bits out the way. So, of course, folding your card in half, and I feel relatively confident that I have got everything sitting close by that I need to make this card. Okay, I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do my stamp first, and then when I set the Big Shot up, or sorry, the Stamp and Cut emboss machine in front of me, I'll do the embossing and the die cutting all at the same time. Okay, so I've got my strip of cardstock. Now the sentiment comes from this stamp set here, which is called Lovely Arrangements. Really, really great sentiments, and the font is really lovely with these. So this is also the stamp set that I featured in the Your Stash Your Style class for July. So the ladies who are part of that class, they used the products they had at home. So each of those cards looked a bit different. Okay, so I'm going to be stamping with my Berry Burst. And as always, have a quick practice run. And so I'm just stamping that in the center. It doesn't matter if it's stamped crooked because that's going to be die cut. Okay, so let me pop that out the way. All right, so I also need 2 pieces for embossing. So I've got my 6 centimeters by 11 centimeter piece of white cardstock and one of the 10 centimeter by 14.4. So I've got 2 pieces to emboss, 1 piece to die cut. So I'm going to just raise my phone stand a little bit, and I need to just move my piece of paper out of the way. And of course, with this one, I am using the really big machine, which fills up most of the camera on my phone. Okay, so let me just get started with this. Okay, I am going to do, first of all, my bit of die cutting, which is just the one. So for the die cutting, I'm using platform number 1, platform number 2, and 2 cutting mats. So I do apologize. It's let me raise this just a little bit more. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay, so as I mentioned, platform 1, platform 2, I've got my first of the clear cutting mats, and I promise they are clear when you first get them. So popping that onto the platform. Now let me share with you the dies. So this is the die, the Lovely Arrangement, so it coordinates with the stamp set, and I'm using this die here, the frame, to cut out the sentiment. Okay, I'm putting that on there, and I am going to be using a post-it note. Let me find one. There we go. Just to hold the frame or the die in place so that it cuts out nice and straight. Okay, and of course the second cutting mat on the top, and that will go through. Okay, so nice and easy. Now, of course, if you prefer, you can do the die cutting first and then do the stamping. Sometimes I just find it a little bit easier to stamp first, and I can line up my die over the top. Okay, pop that aside, and I finished with that. Next, I'm going to be doing my little bit of embossing. So for the 3D embossing folder, I've got number 1, and the only other one I need is number 4, which is the thicker grey one. All right, so my first piece, I'm going to do the smaller piece, and I'm going to, I think, round about there. And honestly, wherever it lands, it is going to work quite well, I think. Okay, so that will go onto my platform, the grey plate on the top, and then run that through. And I'm going to do it a second time with the second piece. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so let's go with, this is the first piece done, which is really nice. Love this embossing folder. And let me do my second piece. And of course, this measures 10 centimeters by 14.4. So that onto the platform and through. And then once I've done this, we are done with the cutting machine. Okay. Let me just fold this up and get it out of the way. Now that we've finished with it, and let me just lower my phone stand a little bit. There we go. Okay, and there is my second piece that is done. So with the second piece, I don't need to do anything at all. Let me just pop the card there that I'm making. I don't need to do anything at all with this, but I will be doing some colouring on this one here. So the colours I am using will be Berry Burst. I've got Lemon Lolly and also Bubble Bath. So these are the three colours I've chosen. And with this sort of card, you can do pretty much any colours that you like. All right, so I'm going to start and do Lolly Lemon across the middle. So I do have a blending brush. So picking up some of that colour there and just through the middle. And using my glass mat, of course, I can just pick up that excess colour off the mat. Okay, that's the first bit. So I don't get my colours mixing together, I am going to get just a piece of paper towel and just wipe off that excess bit of yellow ink. Okay, so my second colour, I'm going to go with Bubble Bath, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I've got another blending brush. I'm going to pick up that colour and onto my cardstock. And I think this ink pad is just a little bit dry, so it might take me a few moments to build up the colour. So with your ink pads and the blending brush, just keep adding the colour until you're happy with the depth of the colour that you've got there. Hello to Carol. I'm glad you remembered. Hi, Debbie. Okay, let's get a little bit more on. And I'm also going to go over with the blending brush into the yellow a little bit. And so just then you don't have a distinct line when you change colours. And I must remember to re-ink this ink pad. It is a little bit dry. Okay, so there is Bubble Bath done. And finally, I've got Berry Burst. I'm going to be a little bit more light-handed with Berry Burst because it's a really dark, sort of intense colour. So I've got another, actually, I'm not going to use a clean brush. I'm going to use the one I had, the Bubble Bath. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of ink on there. So I'm just going to give that a rub over the glass mat and then onto my piece of cardstock. And again, a little bit over the yellow. So you end up with really nice, vibrant colours. Again, into the yellow just ever so slightly. Okay, so that is nearly all of the inking done. Let me just clean up this ink on my mat, just so it doesn't transfer onto everything else. So you can see there's quite a bit of ink there. Okay, next I've got my white ink pad. I have done a little bit of re-inking on this. I tend to keep these ink pads a little bit drier, and when I need to use them is when I re-ink them. So with my piece on, or my piece of embossed cardstock on the table, I'm going to slide the ink pad over the top of it. And I'm going to hold this up so you can see. You do get a touch of colour transfer, and honestly, that is not something that bothers me too much. So when I hold that up, you can see it's picked up the white on some of that embossed area. The white ink is a craft ink, so it does take a few moments to dry. And as you can see, my ink pad, it has got a little bit of the pink in there. That's not something I'm too concerned about. Okay, and I'm just going to, again, clean up the white off my mat. All right, while I'm giving this piece here just a few minutes to dry, I'm going to put the rest of the card together and also colour in the embellishments. So I might do that next. So I do have my rhinestones, and I am using the Berry Burst Stampin' Blends marker. This is the dark one because I do want some intense colour. So I'm using the bullet end or the finer end because it is a little bit harder, and just colouring over the top of my embellishments. So these are just the rhinestones that we have. They come in packets of about 150, and they do have their little glue dot underneath. So these are so easy to use, and you can colour them any colour that you like, or use them just as a nice blingy rhinestone. Okay. That can sit aside to dry for a few moments as well. So let me bring in the rest of my cards. So I do have another piece of white cardstock. So this one measures 10 centimeters by 14.4. This is for the inside. I'm using Stampin' Seal, which is the adhesive I use all the time. Just remember, a light hand and a little bit of a tick just to break the stream of adhesive. Okay, so this is going into the inside. My second piece of white measures the same, 10 centimeters by 14.4, and this one I did emboss with the same embossing folder as the other piece. I'm going to be sticking this flat onto the front, which I'm going to use some of the Tombow liquid glue. I find with the embossed pieces, it tends to stick a little bit better when I've used the liquid glue. I think because it kind of oozes a little bit once you've got it onto your cardstock. So there's, I guess, a little bit better coverage. So getting this on, and probably on this I'm using a little bit more than what I normally would, just to make sure that it's going to stick properly. And of course, when you use Tombow, you can wiggle it around just a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to hold my hands on that just for a moment or two, just so that it sticks properly. There we go. Okay, so far so good. My second piece of the Berry Burst, which measures 6.5 by 11.5, I'm going to stick the second piece of embossed cardstock onto it. Again, using some Tombow. And that will be centered over that piece as well. And I think that's pretty much almost dry because I'm not getting any of that white ink on me. Okay, I want to make some of these elements on this card a little bit more vibrant. As you can see on this, my sample, I've got starker white. So I'm going to be using the Stampin' Up! White gel pen. So these pens are probably the best gel pens I've ever used, and over the last 20 years or so, I have used lots and lots of different gel pens. And these seem to flow really quite beautifully. You do get them in packs of 2, and I can't remember the exact price, but they are very reasonably priced. So all I'm doing, I'm going to colour in a little bit more of this card front, just to add a few of those white highlights. So it might not look like much from a distance, but I will hold it a little bit closer to the camera. just on the inside of these little crosses as well, I'm putting some, let me hold it up just so you can see how vibrant it is. So I've done a little bit in the inside of the flowers, some dots in the middle of the little crosses, and I'm now working on this flower down the bottom. So with this one, because the inside of the flower looks dotty, I'm recreating that sort of look just using the white gel pen with dots. As I mentioned, this is really so happy with this particular gel pen. So these, as mentioned, are the Stampin' Up! Ones. And there you have that. So as mentioned, just that nice vibrant white, or the stark white. Okay, again, something else that just needs a couple of moments to dry. But I'm impatient, so let's see if we can not smear this. I'm going to use some of the standard size dimensionals just so that I don't have to put this face down on the table, because it is going to smear. So as you can see, they're quite big compared to the minis that I usually use. But we do have the two different sizes, and those sizes are used, oops, that's just a little backing paper, have different purposes. Okay, this is going to go onto the card front. So this card, once you've got the embossing done, it comes together really quite nicely and quickly as well. Okay, so just getting those little backing papers off and centering this in my card. Okay, my sentiment. This one I am going to stick, I want this card to stay fairly flat, more in line of, for postage. If they get too fat, you might end up having to pay extra for a class as a large letter. So I'm going to keep this one a little bit flat. I'm going to place a dimensional underneath, probably where the D is for friend, and then that will sit over the top there, and I'll put a little bit of Tombow underneath the other side. Hello, Corinne. Thank you for watching. Okay, so dimensional, which is, let me make sure it's on the right side, and some Tombow. Okay, and then this will go onto my card front, and then the only thing I need to do, and again, just holding my fingers on this piece just for a few moments so it sticks properly. And I've also got my rhinestones that I coloured in to put on as well. And of course, to make life easy, take your pick tool with the putty end. And they will just slide off nicely and onto your card front. So if there's one tool I would recommend people use or get, would be the take your pick tool. Just being multi-purpose is a really great tool to use. This one is very well used. It's getting a little loose, so sometimes this end comes off, but it still works perfectly well. So there is the finished card. So that is all I've got for you tonight. A nice quick card that uses a few extra things, just a couple of different ink pads, including a white ink pad, the white gel pen, and a few blending brushes. Of course, you've got your embossing folder. As I mentioned, with this particular card, it is going to work with any embossing folder, and you can use any colours that you like. So that is it for tonight. There is the card using the Floral Spray 3D embossing folder, which, as I mentioned, is a really, really nice one to use. And a final reminder, I did mention it earlier, but just for those who may not have been here right on time, Your Stash, Your Style weekly card class. I have been sharing some information. You are now able to register for this class. The class does cost $30 for the whole month. So that's 4 classes. So each Monday night for the whole month is what you'll be getting for your money. And of course, you get to use some of the products you already have at home. So thank you so much to Corrine, Debbie, who else is watching? Carol. Let me scroll through. Amanda. That looks to be it. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's a nice quick Facebook Live. And hello to Gay. Thank you for joining me. Nice quick Facebook Live so that we can get on and do some other things with the rest of the night. For me, I'm going to go and do a little bit more stuff for retreat, which is this weekend. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with everyone for that event. So until next week, and I will be back next Tuesday, do take care, stay warm, because I think the weather's just about due to change again, and I think we're due to get cold days and some more rain. So stay warm, everyone, and I'll see you all next Tuesday.